So Hey Pikmin is an interesting game. Traditionally a fully 3D real-time strategy / treasure hunting console experience. The first game dealt with Captain Olimar crashing on a mysterious planet and discovering these mysterious creatures in the first place, which he quickly called Pikmin, which he found would respond to his whistles and his commands. He used these Pikmin to collect his broken ship parts and repair his ship before his air runs out. The second game dealt with treasure hunting, and the third game dealt with foraging for food. Let's talk about the story and what makes this game a little bit different. Well, this time around his ship yet again gets hit with an asteroid, but this time it causes him to lose all of his fuel, Sparklium, in which he needs to find native Pikmin to help him traverse 8 unique locations to collect enough Sparklium in order to return home. At first, this crisis seems incredibly urgent, but you quickly find that it's really not that big of a deal, as the story, as well as the gameplay pacing, is very chill. The most different thing about this story is that each individual level can actually be replayed, which is something that you can't do on any of the past console Pikmin games. And that's fine enough the first time around, but each level is fairly short and easy, that it probably won't be too much fun. While not a bad story, there's nothing revolutionary going on here, and I rate the story a 3 out of 5. So let's talk about the gameplay. Well, Hey Pikmin is a 2.5D side-scrolling puzzle platformer. This game is very slow and very chill, which is kind of weird for a Pikmin game. It's definitely geared for a younger audience, in my opinion, but also to the Pikmin fan as well. Learning each of the Pikmin's abilities and how and when to use them is easy to remember for veterans and also very easy to pick up for first-time Pikmin players. However, throughout each of the 8 different locations you visit, each Pikmin's unique attributes are rarely even utilized, which is kind of a bummer. Levels are linear and straightforward, and there really is no rush at all as you collect the 30,000 Sparklium. Like I said before, it does seem daunting, but it's easy enough to collect 30,000 way before the final area is even unlocked. One of my general frustrations with the gameplay is that Olimar is pretty slow and pretty useless. He does have a jetpack this time around, and of course he has his whistle, and that's about it. You move left or right, either with the circle pad, the D-pad, or even the face buttons on the right side. That's pretty cool. Everything else is touch-based. The controls complement each other, but it's not very ergonomic. Also, holding a larger XL DS might strain your hands a little bit compared to the smaller, lighter consoles. Each area contains a handful of levels, and every level has various puzzles you need to solve in order to progress. Although for the most part, the puzzles are pretty easy. Lots of hidden secrets offer a fair amount of replayability. However, the linear nature of all of these levels makes it kind of boring after you find everything. However, there are a few exceptions, as some of these levels I found to be actually quite challenging to find all the secrets, and there actually were a handful of puzzles that stumped me at first. At the end of every level, you collect your Pikmin and they go to this place called the Pikmin Park. The Pikmin Park is a new idea and concept for the franchise. At the end of every level, all the remaining Pikmin go to the Pikmin Park where they can just chill. Or you can explore the park and put them to work by using their unique skills and attributes to find additional Sparklium in the background. The Pikmin Park is fun in concept, however this quickly becomes pretty boring and useless once everything gets mined, but it is a pretty neat idea and it's a fun thing to do in between the levels. The game runs great on the new family of 3DS consoles. However, I was a little surprised to see the game chugging along when things got too busy on the original 2DS, which is what I used to capture the video. While the controls and the touchscreen inputs complement each other greatly, the overall gameplay is pretty simple, pretty easy, and not super fun in the long run. There are plenty of puzzles and hidden secrets that offer replayability, but overall it's a pretty meh experience, which is why I rate gameplay a 2 out of 5. Well, alright, let's talk about the music and the sound design. And just like all the other Pikmin games, the sound design is super solid. Things just sound very natural and feel alive, but also very science fiction-y and mysterious. The music is organic and goofy, just like all the other Pikmin games. And while the music isn't bad in any way, it never really stood out to me at all. Well, except for these two I really liked. Overall, I rate the music and the sound design a 4 out of 5. So let's talk about the graphics. One of the unique attributes that sets Hey Pikmin apart from its console counterparts are the tall levels, thanks to the dual screen setup. And the tall levels look great. There's lots of detail in the hand-drawn backgrounds, and everything is just very charming. There's lots of color, there's lots of things to look at, and each area has unique color palettes and object designs. And every level within each region is unique as well. Unfortunately, the graphics do not support 3D in any capacity, and for me personally, that's a huge bummer. Another slight issue is just the limitation of the hardware itself. The 3DS is not very graphically impressive. Despite these graphical limitations though, this game looks really good. I rate the graphics a 3 out of 5. So let's talk about the GUI and the extra stuff. So for the settings are actually pretty basic. You just have control over how loud the music and the sound levels are. Everything is touchscreen based except for moving Captain Olimar left and right. And I like this for the most part because you just touch something and it works. And it's very Apple-like in that way. It just works and it makes sense. The GUI is pretty clean, and it reminds me a lot of, again, Apple in the mid-2000s with all these kind of shiny, bubbly things. It's pretty fun. I really, really like moving the globe around, that you can just touch it and spin it around to select the area that you want to explore. That's a lot of fun. And a classic staple of the Pikmin games is the logbook, and this logbook I think is probably the best one, just because of the touch input. There is so much to learn with all of the Pikmin, the items, the creatures you encounter, and even the amiibos. Everything you come in contact with gets logged, and you can go and read about all of the items and the creatures and the Pikmin that you encounter. So much information is packed in. This is just one of the best aspects about Pikmin games in general. And thanks to the touchscreen, touching the models and spinning them around and looking at them, all the creatures through all the angles, is a really, really neat thing. This, in my opinion, is probably Hey Pikmin's absolutely strongest attribute. And I rate the GUI a 5 out of 5. Well, alrighty, my fellow Koopalings, it's time to wrap up this review. The good stuff include, well, first of all, it's Pikmin. There's tons of hidden areas and treasures to find. It's great to see the encyclopedia of all the creatures you run into, and being able to touch the models and interact with it is just fantastic. Olimar's definitions for a lot of these common household items are just freaking hilarious. Areas and backgrounds are detailed and beautifully drawn. The music and sound design is organic and goofy, just like the other Pikmin games. Some of the bad stuff include Olimar is just kind of slow and defenseless. A lot of the levels and puzzles are dull, bosses are incredibly easy, and just a general overall lack of challenge at this game I just don't find very appealing. Handheld Pikmin is great in theory, but the side-scrolling platformer, while relaxing at times, I don't know guys, it just isn't quite Pikmin. There's a handful of really solid ideas like the Pikmin Park, and there's some decent replayability, but overall this game is just too easy for my tastes. Another issue is the price of this game, which is a fully priced 3DS game at $40. And this game is not worth $40 in my opinion. So who is this game, even for? The only two demographics I think this game is really meant for are younger children and Pikmin/Nintendo fans. So on my rating scale, I've got a 2 out of 5 is just kind of a meh, it's okay, and a 3 out of 5 is good. And frankly, I think Hey Pikmin is better than a 2 out of 5, but not as good as a 3 out of 5, so I rate Pikmin a 2.5 out of 5.